Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. Thank you for joining us for show number 1 of 4 this week. We are pushing the boundaries for sure. If you're listening to the show for the first time, you can find us on iTunes, on Spotify, on Audio Boom. We're across a range of different audio platforms. We're, of course, on Twitter at Last Word on Spurs. We're on Facebook and Instagram too. And also, for better or for worse, you know the drill. We're also live on YouTube. And for the thousands out there in attendance, yes, we're pushing for transfer news, which means back alongside me, of course, I've got the main man of a transfer window, Jamie Brown here at the Daily Hotspur. Jay, how are you?
Yeah, all good, Ricky. Of course, I'm always very happy when I get to speak about some transfers. And I think we've got a really great guest today. I'm really looking forward to speaking with him today. And I'm sure you're going to introduce him now, Ricky.
Absolutely. Now, we've been practicing this name for the last 15 minutes off air, so this is the big moment now. Can I get it right? Right, we're going to go with Simone Dell'Uomo, Sportitalia Pundit, and also footballstation.it. Simone, how was that? Did I do okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine, mates. That's a massive privilege and a massive honor as well to be here with you. Just discussing about Spurs. So
thank you so much for joining us. I mean, I think it's fair to say that as Spurs fans, we are absolutely starved for transfers, any form of any move at Tottenham right now. We're at day 10 in the transfer window, and so far it's been very, very quiet. And listen, let's be honest about it. Spurs are one of the clubs we would hopefully expect to be fairly active over this January transfer window, both in terms of incomings and outgoings. But Simone, I just want to give you the opportunity to kind of give us a bit of your background and how, like you say, you come to doing what you do right now in terms of reporting on transfers and how that comes about.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a Sportitalia Pundit and I'm director as well of Football Station Docket. So as I was saying before, it's a massive privilege to be here in front of you and to discuss about Spurs. That is a football club, to be honest, extremely close to the bottom of my heart. So I keep on following them. Mainly right now because the sporting director came from Italy and their manager, of course, came from Italy. So here we go.
That's a very brave man to admit as an Italian that you've got an affection for Tottenham. Bearing in mind of all the clubs you could pick. And here you are, showing you've got an affection for Spurs. So we really appreciate that. It's a great way to start with our watching audience as well. I've got to say, listen, we've had an enjoyable ride so far under Antonio Conte. And at the moment, Spurs find themselves just 2 points off the current top 4, having negotiated themselves into the 4th round of the FA Cup at the weekend. We've got a massive semi-final second leg to come, of course, in the Carabao Cup, has to be said. But ultimately, you know why we're here. We know why we're here. We want to know what this club will be doing in this January transfer window. I think it's fair to say that, as we've said, we need signings. The club needs to carry on this rebuild. Out of interest, Simone, if I was to ask you to describe the relationship at the moment between Conte and the Spurs board, is it a happy marriage so far?
Yeah, to be honest, some quotes. I heard some quotes by Antonio that was asking for a meeting between Paratici and Daniel Levy. I know for 100% that he's gonna keep in touch with Fabio, because Fabio, Paratici, and Antonio are close friends. They have been knowing each other for so much time. They work together with Juventus, so they know each other. And I think that Fabio Paratici is the right man to bring in players that Antonio wants, and that's massive. To be honest, as you know, the January transfer window is quite difficult. It's quite tough because I suppose Tottenham to make big moves in June, maybe in July. That's what I think. As well, as you know, Antonio wants to finish to test all the players, because his coaching philosophy, guys, is quite simple. He wants to improve every single player because he's convinced by the fact that improving every single player, he can improve the total quality of the team. So he's currently working, bringing him back the likes of Romero, the likes of Bergwijn, the likes of Sessegnon. So he's working, and you can see a good potential in all of them, guys, all of them. So I don't know the right position where Tottenham want to bring in new players. Of course, they are searching for a backup for Harry Kane. I've got some ideas about it. They are trying to offload some players, everyone is aware of the way Tanguy Ndombele yesterday was escaping from the pitch. So I think that this is the moment to offload players, then to recruit new funds to try to improve every single because if you wanna fight for big things in Premier League, and we are gonna discuss about it, you have to be brave on the market. You have to try to bring in new players in every single position. So that's what it is.
I'm on mute. So just sticking on particular positions, I think there's a clear need for a number of different areas in this squad to be improved. Of course, right wing back is an area that Spurs look to be targeting this month. Central defence, central midfield. So lots of areas. Kind of, where do you expect Spurs to really go for in this January transfer window? What positions do you expect us to strengthen?
Yeah, that's a big question. Of course, it as I was saying, it all depends on the players that will leave the club, mates. And Matt Doherty is clearly wanted back by Wolves, and it could be a part of the dream of both Fabio Paratici and Antonio Conte. That is clearly Adama Traore, because Antonio Conte is clearly convinced that the player can become a fantastic right wing back. And that's the biggest difference between trying to add players just to do it and then reinforce the squad. As you know, the situation today is that Antonio is happy. Antonio is absolutely happy because Tottenham job is Tottenham job, guys. Because I think that the Champions League final that Spurs lost 2 years ago, thanks to Poch, completely changed the perception of Spurs around the world. They are a big club. The training ground is 7-1. The new Tottenham Stadium is absolutely amazing. To be honest, I was there. I was there on the opening ceremony against Palace on the 1st of April of 2019. So there is everything to win. The biggest problem for Spurs is that they are currently they are currently playing in the Premier League, and the Premier League is the best league in the world. So you know more than me. There are the likes of Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Man United too as well. Because I strongly think that Man United is still far better than Tottenham in terms of the squad. You have to look at the modern history of the club. We are talking about a club that was a top of English football under Poch, because Poch was absolutely amazing. The job he did, he was a legend. And, when you decide to sack Poch to bring on Jose, that clearly passed his best, that's what happened, guys. That's what happened. And now Tottenham, after a wonderful era, I repeat, built from Poch and destroyed by Jose between 2014 and 2021, need to rebuild. And Daniel Levy has given the keys to rebuild a new Tottenham to Fabio Paratici, both Fabio and Antonio. So it's gonna be hard. Antonio, I think that today is realizing that it's gonna be harder than he thought. Because, as I was saying, we are talking about the Premier League, guys. The Premier League. But he's already, as you can see, 3-0 to Norwich, 2-0 to Brentford, massive 3 points last week in Watford. He's doing a great job, and he's already driving a normal car as a Ferrari. So the future is bright.
Yeah, I must ask you just very quickly on your point there. We are talking about Traore in a bit more detail, but I mean, you mentioned that for Conte's perspective, he is determined to maybe convert him into a right wing back. I know a lot of people, including me as a fan, I'm just wondering, if you want a right wing back, why not just go out and buy a right wing back? Why are we as a club trying to convert a player that isn't that type of player when ultimately that's exactly what Spurs need right now? Do you see that point?
Yeah, I was listening to the Bruno Lages, the Wolverhampton manager, yesterday, and he was clear, guys. He was absolutely clear. He was saying that they as well are trying to build something great at Wolverhampton, and to build something great, just Daniel Levy shows during the Mauricio Pochettino's great year at the club was to keep their starts. But if someone managed to come to Wolverhampton, to the Molineux, with big money, they need to sell them. And which are the stats of Wolves today, guys? Right now, they are Ruben Neves, that I would love to see at Tottenham, and of course Adama Traore, of course. The asking price at the moment right now is £40 million. Tottenham are willing to spend 20 millions. I strongly hope that, as you know, the agents today right now are a massive part of the deals, are massive part, especially in January. And I strongly hope that the likes of George Mendes will help Paratici to bring on such a great player like Adama Traore, because everyone knows Adama. Adama has got a huge potential, but I think that Antonio can bring in and transform him just like Victor Moses used to play at Chelsea, because he has got the same change on his mind, on Antonio Conte's mind. He wants to Adama Traore became the new Victor Moses, changing his position from right winger to right wing back. And I saw him, and I can see potential in that position. Emerson Royal is good, to be honest. Emerson Royal is good. He has potential to become a really, really good player, but I don't know if he's gonna become top class player. Of course, that's what I think. So of course, both Fabio and both Antonio want this kind of player joining Spurs. Of course, a key could be Matt Doherty, because today the backup for Emerson Royal is Matt. Matt is 30 years old. He failed to impress his mark at Tottenham. Jose Mourinho strongly wanted him. He needed to be the most competitive player for Sergio Aurier, but he failed, and they want to sell now. But to deal with Daniel Levy is not easy. That can be good when you have to sell, for example, in 2013, Gareth Bale to Real Madrid, because everyone knows Daniel Levy in Europe. Daniel Levy want that price, and if you don't pay that money, you will never get a player from him. To sell players that are out of the plans of a manager is not easy. It's not easy. And then you have to cut the losses. But that's not a problem on Matt Doherty, because I can see, for example, if the request is around £40 million and the offer is around 20, I think that Tottenham can dare to offer £30 million to Matt Doherty. It's gonna be harder to sell the likes of Tanguy Ndombele, because Tanguy Ndombele is the record signing of Spurs, £65 million just 2.5 years ago. So it's gonna be harder. But Adama Traore is not impossible at all. It's not impossible. It can happen.
Yeah. So just in terms of outgoings, how important do you think that outgoings are going to be in terms of Conte being able to bring in new players? Are Spurs very heavily reliant on getting players out the door so that it can raise funds to bring players in? How important do you think getting players out this month will be?
Yeah, I think that is massive to try to find some refunds at the club. And I'm going to say that because, in terms of comparison with Man City, with the likes of Liverpool, with the likes of Arsenal, with the likes of Man United, Tottenham spend less. Daniel Levy spend less respect of, if you compare the net that Tottenham spent in the last couple of years. But if you compare what Tottenham actually spent on the market in the last couple of years, for example, with Italian clubs, Tottenham spent a lot, guys. £30 million for the likes of Sessegnon, £20 million for £30 million for the likes of Sergio Reguilon, £65 million for Tanguy Ndombele, £60 million for Gio Lo Celso. Too much money. So I think that Daniel Levy has got the funds, can bring in new players, but he needs the help of a good sporting director as Fabio Paratici. Because, I remember when on the last days of the transfer market, the summer window of last couple of years ago, I'm talking about 2019, if not more, don't get me wrong, 2019. They tried to both to buy Lo Celso from Betis and Bruno Fernandes from Sporting Lisbon. The biggest mistake by Levy is that when you decide to spend that big amount of money on Lo Celso, why not? Today is to do, no? So why not spend 70 on Bruno Fernandes?
Yeah, because, we're all wondering that question.
Yeah, that's the biggest. Yeah. So the problem is not for me Levy out. That's not the problem because Levy spent. But the biggest problem is that Daniel Levy spent the money in wrong players, guys. In wrong players to rebuild the team. In wrong players. There is a big difference between Bruno Fernandes and the likes of Giovanni Lo Celso. So, when you invest money, you need to be sure. You need to be sure that you are investing them in the right way. If not, it's gonna be a waste of money. That's all.
Let's ask you about Hugo Lloris, Simone, because at the moment we understand Spurs are in talks with Lloris over a potential new contract. Is that something you personally understand? And how close do you think we are of seeing Lloris sign a new deal with Tottenham?
I think that they are talking, the agents. Hugo wants to stay. Hugo wants to stay at the club, loves the club, just like Antonio Conte did. Antonio Conte wants him to stay, and that's massive. And I think that Antonio knows that Hugo Lloris is a top keeper, not just for today, not just right now, but I'm looking forward to the next couple of years. Hugo Lloris can be still a top player for the next couple of years, guys. So that's what's the most important. And I think that it's easy. It's an easy deal. I'm not thinking that he's a priority right now, because right now, January transfer window, let's try to offload some players, let's try to bring in new faces at the club. I think that it's about February, March, what I think. But it's going to be easy. It's going to be easy. They are talking about Tottenham wanting to stay. Hugo wants to stay. So I'm not looking forward to find any kind of issues in this deal. I think that it's going to be a contract until maybe 2023, 2024 with an option to extend. I think so.
Out of interest, Simone, another goalkeeper that we've got at the club at the moment hasn't really been getting regular game time, and obviously did feature at the weekend. That was Pierluigi Gollini. What do you personally think is the future for him? Because we understand Spurs have got to trigger, is it up to 20 competitive games for Gollini to sign for Spurs permanently? What do you see happening in terms of Gollini's future at the club?
Great question, mate. Great question and great point as well. As you know, the loan deal between Atalanta and Tottenham for Gollini last absolutely 2 years. So his contract with Tottenham is at least till June 2023. Now it's all up to the player. I'm sure he will finish the season at Tottenham because Tottenham need him as a second choice, as a number 12. But if he wants to play his cards, if he wants to have a chance to go maybe to Qatar 2022, he needs to move on and be back in Italy. If Tottenham and Conte wants to go on, to keep on going with Hugo Lloris. So I think I'm going to give you 100% that he's going to stay at Tottenham till the end of the season. Even if his contract with the club is lasting to, I think, 2023. Next summer, they will look. Because, don't forget that Atalanta decided to sell Pierluigi Gollini to Tottenham just because they wanted to improve the keeper, and they brought in Musso from Udinese. And that's I think that Musso is better than is actually better than Gollini. Gollini will stay at Tottenham till the end of the season. Then we'll see. That's what I know. That's what they are saying to me.
So just for some clarification on that, Simone, if you don't mind me asking you, so are we saying this is a 2-year loan deal with Gollini?
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Yeah. It's a loan deal that is going to last two seasons. But I think that is a very intelligent move from Paratici, if you remember, to pave the way for the biggest deal with Atalanta, the one with Cristiano Romero. I think that Tottenham managed to give Atalanta more money in that move because the primary target for Fabio Paratici was, of course, definitely, guys, 100% was Cristiano Romero. So Atalanta wanted to sell Gollini. Gollini wanted to come back to England. Tottenham is a massive club. He earned a lot of money. He stay on the bench. Yeah, definitely. It's all up to the player, guys. It's all up to the player. Because if the players, I repeat, I keep on saying that, wants to play, wants to try to conquer his place for Qatar 2022, I think that he needs to move on and leave Tottenham to be back in Serie A. If he wants to stay and fight for his place, I think that, I don't know with Nuno, but with Antonio, the situation is clear. Hugo will extend his contract and we stay at the club. So the first choice for the next couple of years, we stay with Lloris.
So just on potentially like new keepers coming into the club, I know one player that we have been linked with is Dean Henderson, who's currently at Manchester United. He's not getting very much playing time there.
Yeah.
Are there any names that maybe Spurs are kind of being linked with in terms of maybe a new keeper coming in the summer?
At the moment, Gollini remains the first choice. Tottenham will send back to Italy Gollini only if Pierre will say to the club that he wanted, as I was saying, I want to be back in Italy. Samir Handanovic is an experienced keeper, is out of contract in June, but for what I know, Lazio strongly want him for the next season. Because, Lazio, the situation of keepers in Lazio is that Reina is out of contract in the summer. Strakosha is out of contract in the summer, and maybe why not? Strakosha could be an idea, because we are talking about players that are out of contract, because the market today is quite different from the last couple of years, guys. Years ago, we didn't have all this kind of expiring contracts. Today we are talking about players like Kessie, Dybala, many players. Look at the way PSG last summer strengthened their squad. Of course they bought in the left back from Sporting Lisbon. Of course they paid 70 million pounds to Inter de Milan for Achraf Hakimi, but Messi, Sergio Ramos, Gini Wijnaldum. We are talking Sergio Ramos too. We are talking about all players that were out of contract. And this is a big change between these years and the last couple of years, guys. COVID-19 has changed everything. Today, the biggest clubs in Europe are struggling to keep their own players because they don't know how to pay that salary. It's complete. Everything is changing, guys. Everything is changing.
I must ask you, Simone, we discussed very earlier about the right wing-back situation, and you said, as far as you're concerned, that Wolves are looking for a fee of around 40 million. Can I just confirm, is that 40 million euros or pounds, as you understand?
Pounds,
Traore? Pounds. Okay.
That is around
Spurs
45.
obviously at the moment are at and Spurs are at 20 at the moment. We've seen other right wing-backs linked to the club, the likes of Tariq Lamptey, Filip Kostic, Manuel Lazari. From your understanding, if I was to say those names to you, do you anticipate Spurs will get Traore done this window, or is there still a lot to happen for that move to fall into place?
They will try. It all depends on the offer. Of course, the Matt Doherty speech is quite connected to the Adama Traore new potential incoming. Of course, you mentioned some names. Manuel Lazari is struggling to find his place in Lazio. Maurizio Sarri has completely changed the way Lazio are defending at the moment, because Lazio used to play 3-5-2, the same system. And that's why Inter de Milan brought in Simone Inzaghi, because he played with the same system of Antonio Conte. That's the biggest difference between the manager. I don't think Manuel Lazari could be a potential target for Spurs, because he's not strong in terms of pace, rhythm, strength that Premier League asks you to be. Okay, that's quite different. Filip Kostic is another player. He started as a left back, then he became a left winger. He can play on the left, guys, on the left. But I think it's a speech for June. It's a matter for June, because for what I know at the moment, Antonio is working on both Sergio Reguilon and Ryan Sessegnon to take the best out of them. Now we are going to June. on June, everything can happen. If Ryan or maybe Sergio Reguilon do not satisfy Antonio Conte, then Tottenham can think about Filip Kostic, but I don't know. At the moment, I don't know. I don't think it's a priority at the moment. They are looking for a right wing back, that's for sure. And as you know, as everybody knows, the main target for Spurs is clearly Adama Traore from Wolves.
Yeah, I must say what I just said earlier. I know for people that just tuned in, it's so Spurs that only Spurs will be looking for a right wing back, that they sign a player that isn't a right wing back, they look to convert him as a right wing back. There's nothing more Tottenham than that. That is Spurs all over. I mean, whether it works or not, I know, again, Traore has really, I would say, polarised the opinion, certainly of our Last Word on Spurs group members, and again online, you see the difference in opinion for a player. I mean, I am not sure, how that goes down. I can tell you, Simone, your valuation, what you've said is 40 million. I think that's definitely stirred the comments there. I think a lot of people,
guys, to be honest, it's all about 40 million pounds because we are in January. But if Tottenham decide to keep Doherty, if Tottenham decide, for example, to keep Steven Bergwijn, I'm sure that we are going to discuss about Steven Bergwijn as well. But if they manage to keep the same squad, and we arrive to June, to July, Adama contract in July will be on his last year of contract. So it will cost less. It will cost less because if I'm not wrong, don't get me wrong, but Adama Traore contract will expire in June of 2023. So next summer, definitely it will cost less. Today, in January, to convince Wolves to get rid of one of their best players, you need to pay 40 million pounds. Tottenham have got a huge cut to pay because, Doherty is a player that wrote the history in the last 6 years of Wolverhampton. Because when you think about Wolves' history, we are talking about Willy Bolly, Cody, Ruben Neves, Joe Moutinho, and Matt Doherty as well. Because Matt Doherty, under Nuno Espirito Santo, Mourinho, he played a huge part to the evolution of that football club from struggling in the Championship to European football in the Premier League. So Doherty is strongly wanted on that side. That's 100%.
How likely do you think it is that Spurs will be able to move Matt Doherty on this month? And will he go to Wolves? Is there genuine interest in Wolves to actually have him back at the club? Could he be included in any sort of deal?
I think that it could be definitely a possibility. I think it could be definitely a possibility. It could be definitely a possibility too, even if Tottenham didn't reach an agreement, won't reach an agreement with Wolves for Adama. I think that the valuation that Daniel Levy give him is around 10 million pounds because Daniel spent I don't know, maybe 12, maybe 13 million pounds to bring him at the lane, to bring him at the club 2 seasons ago. But it could be really, really, really a possibility, definitely. For what I know here from Italy.
Simone, Spurs, like as always with Spurs, we're linked with a whole host of different players, and of course Italy being one of the prominent continents that we see Spurs being linked with players. Defensively at the moment, centre-back's been one of those areas in which Spurs, you feel Conte still would like to improve. And again, we've had the likes of De Ligt, De Vrij, Romagnoli, Skriniar all linked. We understand from good friend of the show, Fabrizio Romano, he feels that none of those players are going to be obtainable this month. Is that your feeling too, in terms of those centre-backs? And if it is, what other centre-backs do you feel Spurs could target?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And that's my feeling too, guys, to be honest. Because, Conte, as you know, loves to play with 3 centre-backs. In the middle, he wants to help Eric Dyer to explode. And Stefan De Vrij playing that position. Stefan De Vrij is going to be remaining at Inter de Milan because Inter de Milan wants to win once again the Scudetto to establish themselves as the best foes in this area. So definitely Stefan De Vrij won't be leaving Inter de Milan in January. I think it could be a speech for the next summer, but the big name Antonio already have got in that position because I really think so. that he wants to help Eric Dyer to become one of the best in that position. He wants to help him to become the next Bonucci, as he was at Juventus, and the next David Luiz, as Antonio Conte used to play at Chelsea in that position. If you think about centre back right, Antonio is helping Davinson Sanchez to rescue. In that position, there is Romero too. You know, as I know, the Tottenham are currently trying to bring in a new player for the center left position of the three at the back.
Yep.
You know, in my opinion, Ben Davies is the perfect backup. He's a fantastic squad player for a team that wants to win big things, but he's a squad player. If you think about bigger future, we cannot regard him as a top player, of course. But I'm not sure Romagnoli could be an option, because of course Romagnoli is another player, just like I keep on saying, that he's gonna be out of contract on June. That's the biggest difference. But you know, I'm not sure how much will you improve with Romagnoli towards Ben Davies. I'm not sure. If I was Fabio Paratici, there are options in Europe at the moment. There is a fantastic left-footed centre back in Lille that can leave Lille. That is Van Botman. Milan strongly want him to win the Scudetto, because, as you know, Simon Kjær broke his legs a couple of months ago, and they are trying to push forward to get Van Botman. But the biggest problem is that for AC Milan, Lille want 40 million euros for this kind of player. You know, Tottenham in the last couple of years spent 30 million pounds for Reguilon, 30 million pounds for Sessegnon. Why not? Why not go for Sven Botman? Sven Botman could become a top player. You know, guys, there is a big difference, a huge difference between a player with great potential, good potential, and a real player. I'm sure 100% that the likes of Sven Botman can come to the Premier League right now and can play a big part. So I think that if Tottenham have got a chance to reinforce the three centre backs, it's gonna be a left-footed centre backs to improve Ben Davies, to improve the position actually that Ben Davies is currently playing. Antonio loves Ben Davies, to be honest. Just like there is a reason why, guys. There is a reason why Pochettino loves this guy. The same Jose Mourinho loves this guy, because we are talking about a very experienced player. I don't know, maybe 80 caps for Wales in the last couple of years. So we are talking about a very experienced player that is perfect for the bench. But of course, if you want to aim, if you want to dare, if you want to go further in your step, if you want to bridge, to reduce the gap, as Antonio keep on saying, with the top four, you need to invest in that position, guys. Because, you know, you've got Romero, you've got Dyer, and you've got Ben Davies. In Ben Davies, you can improve. Of course, maybe you can afford another backup for Eric Dyer, because Tottenham are looking to offload Giroud. Giroud, at the moment, you know, everyone is aware of the fact that Brighton is strongly interested in signing him. But the biggest problem is always the same. Daniel Levy wants 20 million pounds. And for 20 millions, it's going to be harder. It's going to be hard for Brighton too. So it's going to be a situation like that. If Giroud can go away from the club, Tottenham can persuade someone to join the club. It's all about, generally, guys, the stuff it's about this.
It's a puzzle, right? It's a puzzle.
It's a puzzle, yeah. It's a puzzle. Yeah.
And we never seem to complete that puzzle, unfortunately. I'll hand over to Jamie.
So I mean, the next player that we've been very strongly linked with for a couple of months now is Franck Kessie at AC Milan. Now, I know he's out of contract in the summer, so he's a potential player that could come into the club. Could you maybe just give your thoughts on the player? What kind of a player is he? Obviously, we know he's a midfielder, but what kind of central midfielder is he? And what are the chances of him coming to Spurs and kind of him signing a pre-contract agreement, or even him coming in this month if Spurs could somehow agree a deal? What's your understanding on that situation?
Yeah, Jamie. Yeah, Jamie, great point and great question as well. Frank Kessie is a strong option for June, I can assure you, because of course I follow AC Milan everywhere, so I know stuff like this. Two clubs, strong clubs in Europe want him. Is clearly out of contract in the summer, and we are talking about PSG and Tottenham. Fabio Paratici want him to join Tottenham, but the biggest plot is around top 4 chance for Spurs, because Frank Kessie right now conquered the Champions League football spot with AC Milan. As maybe you know, Tottenham already last summer wanted him to join the club, but he wanted to play Champions League football. So a possibility can be, of course, for June, Fabio Paratici wants him. Antonio Conte as well strongly wants him. And that's a perfect solution for them. I don't know if he wants to stay, because, the relationship between Frank Kessie and the AC Milan fans dropped a lot in the last couple of months. Because, of course, his agent wants him to go to the Prem. He wants to go to the Prem, but, of course, it's all about money. He is asking a lot of money today. He's asking a lot of money to Maldini, Massara, and all the board, and all the AC Milan board. But I do think so. I really do think so. He could be the perfect deal for Tottenham. Because, let's go deep in tactical analysis. When Antonio Conte was the manager of Juventus, he played 3-5-2. When he was the manager of Inter de Milan, he played 3-5-2. Currently, at Tottenham, he's playing the same system he used to play with Chelsea, 3-4-1. And there is a huge difference between 3-5-2 and 3-4-1, because when he played 3-5-2, he dates, he wants a playmaker in front of the 3 center-backs. Okay, it was Pirlo at Juventus, it was Brozovic in Inter de Milan. When he played 3-4-1, the 2 number 8s are both physical players. Look, he regards Dele Alli as a number 10, Lo Celso as a number 10, and Ndombele as a number 10. He wants physical player in that position. He is currently playing both Højbjerg and Skippy on that position, just like he did with Nemanja Matic and N'Golo Kante. So, if you remember, he was struggling to find a position for Fabregas. Just like last season, he was struggling to find a space in his team, in Inter de Milan, for a top player like Christian Eriksen. Because when he played 3-4-1, he won 2 physical number 8 in that position. Kessie is perfect on that position because he is a strong player, maybe in terms of skills, in terms of quality. He's not so gifted in terms of his fits, but in terms of physical, he's the perfect player for 3-4-1. That's why he makes me thinking that he could be really an option. And for what I know, Fabio Paratici is pushing his agents to move him to Tottenham. That could be a real possibility because he wants a new challenge. The player wants a new challenge. The players will try everything to win the Scudetto with AC Milan this season. They have got huge chance to fight for Scudetto. Inter, Milan, and Napoli are facing between themselves this amazing battle to win the Scudetto. But at the end of the season, it could be a serious possibility Tottenham for him. Not at January. So answering to your primary question, not in January, not at all, no chance at all. But for June, for July is a big possibility. But of course, you have to persuade him with Champions League football spot, and it depends of if Antonio will be able to reach the top 4 or not. That's all.
So just another player that Antonio Conte spoke about recently, potentially coming to train with Spurs, was a former player of ours, Christian Eriksen. Of course, he's recovering now, and we obviously wish him all the best with that. Do you think there's any chance of Christian Eriksen coming back to Spurs this month? or do you think it's just a thing where he'll just train with us to kind of build his fitness up? Where do you kind of see Christian Eriksen going next?
Guys, I got emotional when I talk about Christian. Christian is a romantic player. Everyone knows I was live on television when what happened last summer. I think that when Antonio said yesterday that the doors will always open for his return to the club, I think he was claiming there are chances that Christian Eriksen will be back on the training ground, training with Tottenham. But one thing is to train with the club. Another thing, of course, is to be back to playing professional football. Christian is currently dreaming of playing on the World Cup in Qatar 2022. That is gonna be a dream for everyone who loves football. But I don't think it's a possibility, guys. I don't think it is. But football is the best game in the world, because who knows what's gonna happen. So for me, the doors are open to let the guy train with the club. That's what I think. I don't think it's a possibility. It will be a dream, guys. It will be a dream, because Tottenham never find a cover to Christian Eriksen, because when Tottenham in 2012 decided to sell Luka Modric, Luka was for 1 year was unsubstituted. Then 1 year later, Franco Baldini managed to bring in such a great player to the football club. Bruno Fernandes could have been the answer. Lo Celso, to be honest, Lo Celso reminds me of the worst side of Luis Solby more than the next Christian Eriksen, guys. That's the perception I have. So let's move on and see what happens. But of course, Tottenham at the moment is lacking a lot of creativity on that position, guys. Because of course, Lucas and Sonny are quite different players if you compare them with William Hazard. Of course, as I was saying, 3-4-2-1 is the system that he used to play at Chelsea. I'm talking clearly about Antonio. But of course, the creativity came from both William and Hazard. Lucas and Son are two extraordinary players, but they are more number 7. They can score goals, but they don't have that number 10 mind that William Hazard had. So, I think maybe next summer Tottenham will look to reinforce that kind of position with another option, with another player that is different between Lucas and Sonny. Coutinho, for example. Coutinho was, in the last couple of days, was a gift, was a present that Barcelona sent to Aston Villa. And he could have been an option, guys. Not because clearly Lucas and Sonny are better players than Coutinho. Everyone knows that. But of course, Coutinho could have offered something different between them.
Yep.
So maybe I think that Tottenham in the next couple of months will work on the same kind of player.
Was Coutinho, very quickly before we go for a break, Simone, for our listeners on audio, was Coutinho ever an option for Tottenham? Was there ever any talks held? Not at all. No.
Never. Not at all, guys. Not at all.
Okay.
I don't know why, but not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Well, listen. Thank you for shutting that down. We are going to go for our first break of the show for our listeners on audio, for our watching audience on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us again for a transfer special here with Simone Dell'Uomo, of course, a Sportitalia Pundit. I'm joined, of course, also by Jamie Brown from the Daily Hotspurs. We try our best to squeeze any form of transfer news, and I can tell you the patience is wilting. The patience is wilting amongst the Spurs fan base by the minute, by the second here, Simone. And I think, like I say, it's difficult because everybody wants you to come on here and tell us that we're signing all these players. And unfortunately, being a Tottenham fan, as we know, that's not always the case, right? So we carry on battling on. And what I want to ask you about, Simone, is Juventus midfielder Weston McKennie. Now, there's been links to McKennie for the last good couple of seasons. Is he a player, from your understanding, that is interested in Tottenham at the moment?
Yeah, of course. He's appreciated a lot by Fabio Paratici, but I think that is gonna be another option for June, guys. As you know, and you know very well, January transfer window is all about opportunities, all about chances, all about clubs that want to sell that kind of players. Weston McKennie is fully appreciated by Juventus board, and they want to keep him. But of course, for June, for July, it could be an option. His valuation today, for what I know, is all about 25, 30 million euros, 30 million pounds. Let's have a look on what's going to happen. For what I know, Kessie is the biggest name, is the hottest name on Paratici card right now. That's what I know. Of course, there could be an option from Italian market because, of course, guys, Paratici is Italian, just like me. Antonio Conte is Italian, and they are looking forward to new potential signings. But of course, we are talking about opportunity, guys. Opportunity, because actually Tottenham spent a lot also on the last summer. Because if you think 55 million pounds for Romero, 25 million euros for Brian Gill, we are talking about massive investments at the club. So it's not gonna be easy to find. They need to offload players, and it's not gonna be easy because at the moment no one is willing to pay at least 30 million pounds for Tanguy Ndombele. No one is willing to pay at least 25 million pounds for Dele Alli. Giulio Celso, for what I know, is staying at the club because Antonio Conte wants to try him, wants to get to know him, and at least until the end of the season. So it's not gonna be easier. As you know, Jorodon, 25 million pounds. Brighton is strongly interested in the defender, but at the moment they are absolutely unwilling to pay that amount of money. So as you know, and you definitely are gonna know better than me, that to deal with Daniel Levy is quite difficult. It's quite tough. That's the biggest matter at the moment.
One thing you just said there was about, we've really made quite a large investment last summer. It'll be interesting to get your kind of take on Fabio Paratici's start at Spurs. What have you made of the players that he's brought in? Do you think that maybe he, continues to deserve more money to spend? Because a lot of the players, I think, have been slightly hit and miss. Of course, Emerson Royale looks like we're already trying to bring someone else in. Brian Hill, he's taken some time to settle in. But I mean, Christian Romero, you could argue, was a very good signing, and he showed really good signs. Obviously, shame that he got the injury. But so, what have you made of Fabio Paratici's start at Spurs in terms of the players that he's brought in?
Yeah, that's a big question, guys. I know in England, Fabio Paratici is loved by everyone. He's absolutely loved by everyone. If you talk with any, and I can assure any Juventus fan or any Juventus journalist, you simply cannot afford to find a certain way to judge Fabio Paratici, because Fabio Paratici, for the feeling that I have, is a strong sporting director when he has got a strong man behind him. Under Beppe Marotta and under Antonio Conte, he did amazingly well. Amazing. When he's alone, just like the last couple of seasons with Juventus, he brought in wrong players, guys. Of course, Adrien Rabiot was a free agent. Aaron Ramsey was a free agent. But we are talking about overrated players that failed to stamp their mark in Italy. And many Juventus fans, to be honest, guys, are angry towards Fabio Paratici. Let's have a look last season. 55 million pounds for Cristian Romero. They're too much. Of course, Cuti Romero is a great prospect. Prospect.
Yep.
Brian Gill, 25 million pounds plus Eric Lamela. Too much, guys. Too much, to be honest. Too much. So let's give him time. Maybe last summer he made some mistakes. Maybe he made some beauty. But I think that as a journalist, I keep on saying this. You cannot judge a sporting director, a player, a manager in one season. Yes. In this case, we are talking about a sporting director. So we need to wait 2, 3, 4 transfer windows. So let's wait and see. I think that we need to judge Fabio Paratici's job next September, guys. Next September. I think that.
Yeah, sure. So another midfielder that Spurs have been linked with is a player that is currently in Italy at the moment, as Mattias Svanberg from Bologna. I know he's a slightly younger one. I think a big talent out in Italy. Is there any chance that he might be a target for Spurs? Obviously, not one for this month, but maybe in June. Is that something Spurs might?
And we are talking. On this case, we can talk about January too, guys, because the valuation of this player for Bologna is around 25 million pounds. That are a big amount of money, but the player is what Antonio Conte really wants from his midfielders, from his number 8s. For the speech, for the evaluations that I was explaining on the last couple of minutes, 3-4-2-1. The two number 8s are going to be physical. And of course, Svanberg is not at the same level of Frank Kessie. But Svanberg is a very, very good product. Congrats on Walter Sabatini, currently the sporting director of Bologna. We are talking about a very, very good player, a player who is fearless, loves duels, wants to play the ball as well. So I think that it could be a possibility. But of course, when you want a player in January, or is a possibility, or is a chance, or you need to pay the whole amount of money that his currently club is asking. That's what I think. But of course, Svanberg could be a possibility for the next couple of weeks. I'm not gonna assure you that it's gonna happen, but it's gonna be a possibility because I don't know Antonio, but Fabio Paratici loves him too. Loves him. Loves the way he's playing.
Sure. So two players that have been linked with a move away. I think we briefly touched upon them: Tongi and Ndombele and Dele Alli. Of course, two players. A couple of years ago would have been huge players. You would not expected Dele Alli to be in the situation he currently finds himself in. Of course, when we signed Ndombele, he was our transfer record fee. Do you see that any chance of them leaving this month? Is that a possibility for either of them two? Do you see them departing Spurs?
Great question, mate. Dele, when you talk about Dele, it's all up to the potential investors. It's all about to the ones that really want to try. I heard some news coming from Newcastle that Newcastle want to try to bring him at least on loan. But it's difficult. It's still difficult to find the right evaluation of Dele. How much is Dele? 20, 25, 30? If you think about 3 years ago, it was 70, 80 million pounds. It was expressed his best. I think that when Tottenham didn't manage to reach an agreement to persuade Christian Eriksen to stay at the club, I think that with the Christian Eriksen's departure, Dele Alli was lost, guys. Was lost because if you think about Dele's career, I think that at least 70%, 80% of the Dele Alli's greatest goal in his career were all derived by Christian Eriksen. When you lose Christian Eriksen, you lost Dele Alli too. So that's the question. There is no one. When some minutes ago I was talking about creativity, I was talking about that Lucas and Sonny don't have the same characteristics of, for example, William Hazard. I was connecting that kind of speech. For what I know, Tottenham are desperate to offload Joe Rodon, Tanguy Ndombele, and Steven Bergwijn too, because Steven Bergwijn is the only one at Tottenham squad at the moment that really, really, really has got market abroad. Ajax is trying everything to convince him to betray his love for PSV Eindhoven and to join Amsterdam. For what we know, Ajax yesterday offered 80 million pounds. They are not enough. And there is discussion between Fabio Paratici and Antonio, because Antonio is not a big fan of Bergwijn. Fabio Paratici, he is. Himself is. So there are discussions between the two. Antonio wants to get rid of him because, for what I know, Steven Bergwijn feels that he needs to be a starter. He needs to start every game. He wants to be the main name alongside Memphis Depay on the national team. But of course, in Tottenham it's difficult because in Tottenham he has got huge competition from, of course, Dele, not just Dele, but of course Lucas and Sonny. So that's the biggest problem for Steven. We are talking about a 24 years old. He wants to be back in Holland. He wants to be back in Netherlands, and want to be playing week in and week out. That's the biggest question with Steven Bergwijn. And the potential sell of Steven Bergwijn could pave the way to arise the funds to afford Adama Traore. That's all about it.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, as you link back to earlier, it does feel like a bit of a puzzle with missing pieces and moving pieces and trying to fit those pieces into the right parts. Moving on to wingers, Simone. Spurs were linked with a couple of weeks ago, a potential signing on a free transfer this summer. And I'm conscious when I say this summer, people are getting really frustrated because all they want to know is what's happening this January. And not your fault, you've said June. We've said the summer a lot on this show so far. But it's just the nature of obviously some of these players. They're out of contract in June. They're not out of contract in January. And that is what it is. Ousmane Dembele, can you see any way in which Spurs could sign that player on a free transfer?
No way, mate. For what I know, if Zinedine Zidane will become next PSG boss, maybe with Poch going to Old Trafford, I think that PSG starts as a starter. They are on the front line to bring in a player like Ousmane Dembele, because Ousmane Dembele has got a huge evaluation, guys. I know that the consistency is not his best, of course, but we are talking about 70, 80, 90 million pounds. So it's going to be very, very difficult to persuade and convince him to join Tottenham in the next couple of months. But as you know, it's all about top four, guys. It's all about top four. Of course, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea will all finish into the top three. That's all. The top four battle is all about Tottenham, Man United, Arsenal, and West Ham if they want to give 100% on that race. But of course, Man United is far better than Tottenham in terms of the squad right now. But as you know, Man United are struggling at the moment. Ralph Rangnick is facing difficult times at Old Trafford. So Tottenham has got his main star in Antonio Conte. Antonio Conte is already driving a normal car as a Ferrari, guys. The amount of points, let's forget the defeat last week at Stamford Bridge in the first leg of the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. But the way he's leading his team out, week in and week out, 3-0 to Norwich, 2-0 to Brentford, 1-0 to Watford. It's a pity that points that Tottenham dropped St Mary's against Southampton. But of course, 3-0 to Palace. They are doing great things. So Tottenham can dream about finishing to the top four. Finishing to the top four for Daniel Levy will be key, absolutely central, absolutely pivotal. And then it can attract players as well. Frank Kessie is a strong possibility. Guys, for January, because I'm reading comments, for January stuff. For what we know, is all about Adama Traore, and it's gonna not be easy. Then, of course, Paratici is famous for his surprise moves. If he can manage to make a surprise move, for the moment, nor me, nor either in Italy knows it, because that's the beauty of the game.
Simone, do you think then, what you just said about surprise moves, do you think there's a player that hasn't been linked at all to Tottenham this window that you could see joining Tottenham, just a surprise them out of nowhere that nobody's reported so far, that could be through the door before the end of the month? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, but for June, and my secret is Robin Gosens, the left wing back from Atalanta, German international, fantastic player. I think the relationship between Atalanta and Tottenham are so good, because Tottenham paid around £7 million to bring in both Gollini before and Romero too. We are talking about the perfect fit for Antonio Conte. If you manage, guys, football is all about levels. Ben Davies and Sergio Reguilon are not players that can win the title, but if you bring in players like Sven Botman from Lille and Robin Gosens from Atalanta, that could be the perfect left wing back. You can dream, because you reduce what Antonio wants. That is all about reducing the gap with Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City. That's all, guys. That's all.
Yep.
Football is about differences between players that can have potential or players that are real players, guys. And Robin Gosens is the best left wing back that you can afford for the system of Antonio Conte. He wanted it at Inter, but it was quite difficult. So, Robin Gosens, and no one still mentioned it, could be the perfect player that both Antonio and Fabio want him to bring to Tottenham.
Another winger that Spurs have been quite strongly linked with this month is Dejan Kulusevski from Juventus. Now, I know last night, I think in Juve's game against Roma, I think Chiesa has injured his ACL. So it looks like he's going to be out for a while. So do you think that maybe that might have some sort of impact on Spurs' pursuit of Kulusevski if they've lost the winger in Chiesa for the rest of the season? Will that impact Spurs' pursuit of Kulusevski?
No, Jamie, no chance at all to bring in Kulusevski. Apart from the fact that I'm not a big fan of Kulusevski, to be honest, because Kulusevski, no one in Italy knows which kind of player he is. He's a winger, he's a number 10, he's a left winger, he's a left wing back, he's a right wing back.
Sounds like half our squad.
Yeah, we don't know. We still don't know. And we are looking for Kulusevski for... we are telling about Kulusevski for 2 years now. They lost Chiesa, of course, so it's gonna be almost impossible. But if we are coming back to the speech and the difference between bringing in Lo Celso or bringing in Bruno Fernandes. If I need to spend 25 million pounds for Kulusevski, I will spend 35, 40 million pounds to bring in Nicolo Zaniolo from Rome. That could be the perfect deal. Of course, he suffered about long injuries in the last couple of years, but we are talking about a proper crack players. And Jose Mourinho is mourning because Jose Mourinho doesn't know which position he wants Zaniolo to play. So he's wondering, maybe I want to sell him, maybe I want to sell him in England. Guys, if Paratici wants Zaniolo, they've got huge chance to bring in Zaniolo. Zaniolo is top player, guys. He's physically so strong. He's got a fantastic left foot. We are talking about a player with number 10 mind, and we are back to discuss the difference between Lucas Son and William Hazard. The speech I used to do in the last couple of minutes. That could be. I'm gonna send ideas to Fabio Paratici with the likes of Gosens, with the likes of Zaniolo.
I wish someone sent him some ideas, Simone, to crack on. We need some ideas to go to him. 10th of January, we've done nothing, so please send him some ideas.
As a journalist, for what I know, the only one they are really trying to pursue and convince to join Tottenham is Frank Kessie. But Tottenham need to finish into the top 4 because it's not just about paying the agent the amount of money the agent wants. It's not just about paying Frank Kessie the amount of money Frank Kessie wants, but it's all about give Frank Kessie a concrete reason to leave Milan, to leave AC Milan, to join a Champions League club. And it's all about face-to-face, a Champions League battle that for me, between Tottenham and United, will go down to the wire. Definitely.
Can I ask you, Simone? I mean, one of the points that's been made a lot this window is potentially, I know we've done nothing so far, so I'm laughing as I say this, potentially swap deals being maybe an option this window more than, direct transfer fees. Is that something that Paratici might explore? Only because you look at the certain situations at Tottenham. We've touched on Dele Alli. We've touched upon Tungi and Ndombele, Matt Doherty. Are those going to be potentially more options as we tick down towards the end of this January transfer window?
Yeah, as you know, but it's gonna be difficult, guys. It's gonna be tough because, as you know, both Daniel Levy and Fabio Paratici are desperate to float Tanguy Ndombele, and they're trying to offer him as a swap deal for Weston McKennie, just like you asked me before with Juventus. They are trying to offload him to Rome, but of course, Rome in the next couple of years, in the next couple of hours, will announce the signing of Sergio Rivera coming from Porto. And that was an operation, and then the deal that George Mendes absolutely drove, because we are talking about Sergio Rivera from Porto to Rome on 1 million as a long deal, and 15 millions as an option to make the deal permanent. So we are talking about Rome that already have got in Dombele position Sergio Rivera. So it's gonna be difficult, guys. They are trying to.
I got a laugh. Sorry, Simone. We've got people that are actually offering their partners as an alternative to transfers. There you are. Simon Cunnell's going to swap my wife for Kessie. What have you done to yourself, Simon? It's the January window. Only 10 days in, mate. I tell you what, steady on. There's still 20 days of this to go. What's going on in this transfer window? Sorry, Simone. Probably just cutting you short there.
Yeah. I know that Frank Kessie is as good as it is, guys. He's a fantastic player, guys. Fantastic player. It could be the man that can change the dynamics of the midfielder for Spurs, guys. Because of course Oliver Skip could be a great potential, but of course we are talking about a very young player that still needs to improve. So this is the difference. And Højbjerg is a fantastic squad player. He could be a fantastic player to play 25, 30 games. But if you want to try to be competitive to win the Premier League, of course, Obi, we all love Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, but cannot be the answer, guys. There are players much better than Højbjerg if you want to try to win the Premier League next season.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Bergwijn, you mentioned obviously being a possibility of going. Go on, Jay. Do you want to come in there? Sorry, you go.
Just on that, I know we've obviously covered Bergwijn. The one I wanted to ask about was Japhet Tanganga. He's been linked with a move to Juventus and AC Milan as two clubs that are potentially looking at him. I know he's got an Italian agent, but do you think there's anything in that, Japhet Tanganga moving to one of the Italian clubs?
Yeah, Jamie, no shots for Juventus. Could be a possibility for AC Milan that is trying to find some defenders on the market because Simon Kjær got injured, and we are talking about serious injured. So at the moment, the only one center backs on which Stefano Pioli, that is AC Milan manager, can count at the moment is Romagnoli and Tomori, Fikayo Tomori, that you know very well. So they are trying to persuade Botman, but as I was saying, Lille are asking 35, if not 40 million pounds. That is gonna be an impossible amount of money. On Botman, there is the strong interest from Newcastle, but Sven doesn't want to go because there is to be relegated in Newcastle at St. James's Park is currently not an utopia, but a concrete prospect. So they are trying to find in January, as we know, some good option. Tanganga could be an option because, when Cuti Romero got injured, the surprise decision by Antonio was to play Davinson Sanchez instead of Tanganga. That was Japhet was one of the greatest product under Nuno Espirito Santo. I remember the first game against Man City, he was brilliant as a right back. So he can play as a center back on the right, on the free center back on the right. But Cuti Romero will be back as soon as possible on the pitch. He's already started to work on the pitch. Davinson Sanchez is fully appreciated by Antonio. So maybe a long deal. Could be an option for AC Milan. For Juve, no, not at all, because they have got the likes of Bonucci, Gollini, Rugani, De Ligt. So they are full of option in that position, guys. So I'm not thinking about Juventus.
But before Jamie asks you about Dusan Vlahovic, I just want to double check on Bergwijn. You mentioned him earlier. Is it a case with Bergwijn that he'll only leave the club if they are going to get a replacement of some kind, whether that's Adama Traore to come in that can operate also as a winger, and obviously now Conte looking to turn him into a right wing back? Is that dependent, or will he go regardless, whatever happens with Traore, as far as you understand?
It's not all about Adama Traore. I think that Adama is part of a triangle, if we can say that, with Matt Doherty and Steven Bergwijn. I think that Steven Bergwijn can leave the club, even if Fabio Paratici doesn't get Adama Traore, because I think that Adama Traore is more linked to the Matt Doherty swap deal than Steven Bergwijn. Because, in the position of Steven Bergwijn, you've got Dele, with other characteristics. You've got the same Bryan Gill, guys. Bryan Brahim can play in that position. If we want, he's a right winger. He loves to start from the wing, from the right, to cut inside, to play with his left foot. So he's that kind of player. And of course, Steven Bergwijn, for what I know, Daniel Levy, as you know, is asking at least 25 million pounds. 25 million pounds. If Steven wants to betray his PSV fate and join Ajax, it can happen. It can happen because Ajax strongly want him. Yesterday, the amount of money that Ajax were offering to Tottenham is all about 80 million pounds. Daniel Levy wants more, and it's not easy, as you know, more than me, to deal with Daniel Levy. This is the current situation, guys. I think that Fabio Paratici and Steven Hitchen too loves the guy, but Antonio don't. Antonio wants players that are soldiers, are there to sacrifice themselves for the team, and this is a big difference between Steven and Bergwijn, because Steven is thinking about being a starter, and as I was saying, in that position, Antonio clearly prefers Lucas Moura and the likes of clearly Sonny. So it's gonna be difficult for Steven to find a place in a spot in the first team. You want to feel a starter, guys. You want to be back maybe in a division in Amsterdam, in PSV Eindhoven. So they are looking for solution. For what I can say, in my opinion, Steven Bergwijn is a good player. He's actually a good player. You cannot discuss about it. But his potential is only a very good player. He will never become a top player. This is my true feelings, guys. So if Tottenham want to get rid of him, okay, no problem.
So another player I think that's going to be huge in the summer in terms of lots of clubs going after him is Dusan Vlahovic. Obviously, currently at Fiorentina. He had a fantastic 2021. I think he levelled Cristiano Ronaldo's record for most goals in a calendar year in Serie A. Is he a player that might be on the move this month? I know Arsenal have been very strongly linked with him, which would be, I think, would be a terrible if he was to go there. But do you think that's a player that Spurs might have any sort of chance of getting either this month, which I'd say was very unlikely, but what about in June?
Yeah, for what we know, great question, mate. For what we know here in Italy, the only one, and I'm not gonna say that you're not going to be happy listening to these words from me. The only club that can bring him on January is Arsenal. That's all, because they seems to be the only one ready to splash the cash to bring him in. Of course, we are talking about a player which contract will expire in 2023. That is quite different. Next summer, he will leave for, I think that if you go to Commisso, that is the chairman of Fiorentina, with 15 million pounds, you will bring in the player. The player wants to stay because the players want to bring Fiorentina back to European football. I'm not talking about Europa League. I can talk also about Conference League. The main target for Dusan want to stay at the club and want to lead the attack of Florence to bring back to European football. We are talking about guys a top striker. And you know why he's top? Because he's complete. He can score from free kicks. He can score penalties. He can score 25, 30 goals for season. For me, he's already better than Lukaku. He's ready to play for whatever club you want in the planet. But of course, Tottenham already have a top striker in the world. Because I think that the masterclass of last summer is that Daniel Levy keeping on defending Harry Kane and Harry stay at the club. So everyone is aware of how much Pep Guardiola wanted him to join Man City. And of course, Harry wanted to go because not just for Tottenham, he loves Tottenham, it's clear to everybody, but he deserves to be winning the Golden Boot, the Premier League, week in and week out. Because of course, when I price Dusan Vlahovic, there are no so many strikers better than Dusan Vlahovic. For me, are four: Karim Benzema, Robert Lewandowski, Harry Kane, and that's enough, guys. That's enough. We are talking about the only strikers in the world that are better than him. Of course, Eric Haaland, definitely. Dusan Vlahovic is part of that 5 players, center forwards best in the world for me. But of course, if I was Paratici, I would spend a lot more to reinforce the defensive line, right wing back, not just with Adama, but more on left wing back, center midfielders. Tottenham in that position is just covered, and could be a possibility. That's a news I'm gonna send you. For what I know, Tottenham is not going to force a move for Dusan Vlahovic because it's so expensive. They are just looking forward to a cover, to a backup for Harry, a backup. And there is Andrea Belotti, the one that missed the penalty in the final against England on Wembley, that is gonna expiring his contract in June with Torino, and he can be a good solution. He can be a good solution, guys. Andrea Belotti could be an option. We are talking about a player better than Soldado, better than Janssen, and younger than Fernando Llorente. So I think if I was Paratici, I would spend not 70 million pounds on Vlahovic, where I have in a position where I have Kane, Lucas, Sonny. I would spend in other parts, because of course the attack of Tottenham is great. The attacking option are great. Tottenham need to spend on midfielders, on right wing backs, on left wing backs, on center backs. That's my idea, guys.
And can I ask you, Simone, you mentioned about an alternative to Vlahovic. One of those names being mentioned, and I've got to pronounce this right, I'll try my best to. Gianluca Scamacca, have I got that correct, that name, that pronunciation? A player that's sort of very highly, apparently, on Fabio Paratici's radar. Anything there in terms of speculation of a move to Tottenham? Is that realistic?
Yeah. He's an interesting player. He's an interesting prospect. He's one of the best, youngest players in Italy. And of course, in Italy, everyone is discussing about Ciro Immobile, the same Andrea Belotti. They are looking for a new striker for the national team. But apart from Gianluca Scamacca, this new player coming from his history is a little bit particular because he comes from Rome. He grew up in the academy of Rome. Then he went away to Netherlands with PSV. He came back 1 year in Genoa, and now he's showing the real characteristics as a strong new striker for Sassuolo. He's growing up, but of course, I think that, of course, guys, when in Italy, a new striker, 22, 23 years old, starts to score goals, is gonna get so expensive. So I think, as I said, he's an interesting player, but Paratici, for an expensive point of view, will look to cheaper options, guys. That's what I think.
Just to bring it back onto a player that we currently have, of course, Harry Kane. For me, one of the, as you said, one of the very best strikers in the world. There has been a bit of talk of potentially a new contract for him. Is that something that you see happening? Harry Kane committing to Spurs, and then of course, what would kind of be the details of that contract? Would there be a release clause for maybe next summer, or do you see Harry Kane committing his future to Spurs long term?
I think that Harry Kane's future is strongly connected and linked to Antonio Conte's future at Tottenham. Harry will stay. Harry is happy. We have seen a new phase of Harry. We are not seeing the Harry Kanes playing under Nuno. We are seeing Harry playing under Antonio. And Antonio was a statement from Tottenham. Of course, Tottenham need to rebuild after Jose Mourinho. When you bring in such a great manager, arguably one of the best managers in the world, like Antonio, he means so much. He means so much, and he meant so much to Harry Kane too. That's the biggest difference. I think that, guys, we can never forget the fact that Harry Kane's currently contract will expire in 2024. So there is a lot of space of time to discuss about a new contract. So for the moment, the priority is to think about January. On February, the priority will be to discuss about Hugo Lloris' contract, and then maybe there is no urgency in terms of thinking about Harry Kane. Harry Kane nowadays is happy. Right now he's happy. So till the moment, Daniel Levy and the board will show Harry Kane the ambition for Spurs. He will stay, and he will stay happy to stay at Tottenham. Of course, Tottenham need to invest money in defense and in midfielders, number 8. That's what we really bring in. Don't get me wrong, Dusan Vlahovic is a fantastic player, but I think that if next summer Antonio and Fabio will have, I don't know, maybe 100 millions of euros of pounds to spend on the transfer, I will go for reinforce other position, guys. Because of course, Vlahovic is a fantastic player, but you know, Tottenham don't need to invest in that position, guys.
So just to kind of throw a couple of names at you that we've got down here. Clement Longley, he's a player who's been linked, of course, at Barcelona. Nikola Milenkovic, I know he was linked last summer from Fiorentina, central defender. Isco and Antoine Griezmann, there are a couple of players that have been linked. So are they kind of any of those names that they have interest to Spurs?
Yeah, Antoine Griezmann, of course, is a dream. No chance at all, because, you know, Luca Sansoni, let's have a look at what the situation around Bergwijn will end up. That's what we all know. Lenglet could be an option, guys. Could be an option because, of course, Paratici brought in the likes of Emerson Royal, because everyone is aware of the finances of the currently. Of course, guys, Barcelona is facing a very, very difficult times in terms of financial situation. And Lenglet could be an option because he's left-footed. He can play in the position where he's currently playing Matt Davis. But of course, it costs 30, 40. And it's all about June, guys. It's all about June. Nikola Milenkovic is dead. I think that we leave Fiorentina.
I can tell you, Simone, you're saying it's all about June. There's people there getting the laptops and throwing them out the window.
Yeah, guys.
The iPads are going, the phones are going. It's all about June.
It's all about June, guys. It's all about June. You know, in January it's gonna be difficult, guys. It's gonna be difficult. Adam is the hottest man, of course, for what everyone knows. Everyone knows. So that's the situation, guys. Then if it be
nothing on no chance of Messi. Nothing on Messi.
No chance at all, guys. No chance at all.
I'll tell you what, after tonight, we're all looking forward to June now. I'll tell you what, we can't wait for we should just rename the podcast Last Word on June. We can't wait for June. I'll tell you what, roll on June. Who knows what's coming in June? We can't wait. Okay, Simone, let's ask you a final question. Realistically, how many players do you think Spurs will sign before the end of this January transfer window?
2. One could be Adama, and the other one, because I know Paratici, it could be a surprise move, guys. Could be a surprise move. Okay. Yes, of course. I give some suggestions, I give some names, the likes of Robin Gosens, the likes of Andrea Belotti, the likes of Sven Botman. Sven Botman could be a possibility, but of course we don't know actually what both Fabio and Antonio are discussing behind the doors. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
No.
So that's the situation, guys. That's the situation. Of course.
I think that's also very key, isn't it, Simone? I mean, everyone, listen, there's a lot of people that claim to be in the know, but like you said, the only people that really know what's going on is, of course, Fabio Paratici and Antonio Conte. They'll keep their cards very close to their chest because they won't want the rumours getting out of who they're after, because, again, that price just goes up. So I think it's very important we make that point. I wonder, again, in your opinion, Simone, watching Spurs like you do from overseas, is 2 players enough to get Spurs Champions League football? When you look at what Spurs have got in that squad, you look at Ndombele, Dele Alli's form, you look at, again, issues at centre-back if Romero isn't fit. And again, like you said, Dyer and Sanchez have come on. Just one striker at the football club. I have to make that point. Spurs, one striker, one senior striker. Yeah. Is 2 players enough, in your opinion, to get Spurs into the Champions League this season? Can Antonio Conte do that with his squad? Yeah,
it's all about it all depends on Man United, guys. To be honest, it's all about Man United, because of course, if you think about as I keep on saying, if you think about the squads, it's all about Man United. Man United is far better than Tottenham, Arsenal, and West Ham. If they manage to be back on track, they will finish 4th. If they keep on struggling, Tottenham have got huge chances, guys, huge chances. To be honest, I don't think that the backup for Eriksen will change Tottenham perception or hopes of getting a top 4 spot. Of course, don't get me wrong. Andrea Belotti is a good player. He can come here in January, but of course, it won't change the destiny of Tottenham. You need something big to change the destiny of Tottenham. And as Antonio's as well is keep on saying, in January, in general, because I'm not telling stories. Of course, guys, it's reality. Look at the quotes of Antonio after Chelsea Tottenham 2-0. You cannot think that you can change perception of sports and ambition of sports in January, guys. In January, we need to let Antonio going on working with the players that he has already have. Yeah. Of course, I don't see a big potential, for example, in Sergio Reguilon, but under Antonio, we are seeing a good left wing back. So let's move on and let's see what can happen, guys. I know Fabio Paratici is famous to bring in someone from out of nothing, guys. Out of nothing. Yep. So let's look. We don't know what can happen, guys. For what I know, I say the names. I've got some ideas. Botman, Gosens, Belotti, these kind of players, they are not linked to Tottenham in these days. This is my perception. For what I can know, that's what I know.
Well, listen, Simone, it's been a pleasure having you tonight. Thank you so much for, like I say, giving us all your information. We really appreciate it. Before we do let you go, one of our own there on the screen, Chris Cowlin, one of our panelists, says, what trophy will Conte win first, Simone? So that's the question.
On June.
In June. In June. What's going to come first?
Well, if Antonio will be able to overcome the situation on the second leg against Chelsea, why not, guys? Why not? Guys, I wanna thank you all, guys, for the time spent together. That was a massive privilege and a massive honor, of course.
Listen, we've loved it. Can I ask one thing, Simone, before you go? Now, one of our panelists who is watching tonight, and that's Jason McGovern. You might have seen Jason, can get very angry when we mention the name to him of Adama Traore. I just want to know your thoughts personally. If Adama Traore is to sign for Tottenham, will he be a success at the club? This is for Jason, by the way. Jason, this is to you.
Because let me close the show with a story. Because I want to help you to find out who Antonio Conte really is. Antonio Conte is a boss, guys. Adama Traore is famous for his inconsistency on the football pitch, of course. I'm reading some quotes and some comments from the great guys.
United comment finished, Simone. You were loved up until that.
Great, absolutely great, guys. Let me tell you about his story. You remember Antonio Conte first reign at Juventus. Marotta brought him a player, Reto Ziegler, a Swiss international, left back, coming from Sampdoria for free. Early days when Antonio Conte got appointed as new Juventus boss, he wants everyone to be a soldier for him. He wants 100% of attitude on the training ground. This Reto Ziegler, free agent coming from Sampdoria, was caught on smiling when Antonio Conte was given his instruction to the players. Antonio went to Reto Ziegler and said to him, Reto, you will never play for me anymore. And that was the end of the story, end of the day. So I think that Adama too, that he is famous for the inconsistency, because of course, one day he seems to be able to dribble everything. The other day, he played the worst game of his life. Guys, under Conte, he could become really a star, guys. Trust me. Well, as a right winger or right wing back. In what position?
I tell you what, we've sold him to a number of our, like I say, listeners tonight. Thank you so much. Jamie, passing on. Always great to have, like I say, some knowledge of the transfer window. We just we keep on waiting, Jay.
Yeah, and obviously it sounds like we could be waiting until the summer, of course. But yeah, fantastic to have you on, Simone. I think brilliant guest tonight. Always great to hear about transfers. It doesn't look like we might get too many this month, unfortunately, in January. But I'm definitely looking forward to the summer now. So yeah, fantastic guest. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you for your kindly words. Let's wait for Adama. Let's wait for another surprise move. And it's surprise because we don't know. Fabio Paratici is lovely because we don't know what can expect from him. Of course, guys. No one knew Bryan Gill. Suddenly, Bryan Gill officially is a Tottenham player. Wow. Yeah,
I think you're right there. So I think it's a great way to end that. You made that point. Brian Hill, it came out of nowhere. It wasn't speculated by anybody. And again, you talk about this Paratici surprise. My God, I hope you're right. We can't wait to unwrap it.
Yeah, of course. So for us that as a journalist here in Italy is tough too, guys, to understand Fabio Paratici, of course, because he can be able to bring in someone out of nothing. So let's go. Roll on the summer, guys. Will be a brilliant summer for Spurs.
Absolutely. Simone, very quickly, where can a lot of our listeners are based overseas, so where can they find your work? Where can they find you?
Footballsession.it. If you you need to be able to read Italian, guys. that's the biggest problem, guys. Of course, because I'm here everywhere you want, whenever you want, I'm here. So let's go. Keep on touch, guys. That's been brilliant, guys.
Absolutely. Simone, thank you so much. Jay, as always, thank you.
Guys.
Believe it or not, we are back tomorrow with yet another transfer show to bring to you. What are we doing to ourselves 24 hours in time? What are we doing? But listen, my thanks to Simone, to Jamie, and from me, guys, have a great evening. Keep safe, keep well. And as always, come on, you Spurs.